I'll never forget the moment I saw it. Christmas time, 1997 at my nan's house. My cousin said he had something very cool to show me on his brand new Nintendo 64. I'd seen N64s when out with my parents at places like Toys R Us, but I didn't know anyone who actually had one. I was still rocking the Sega Mega Drive, and to me, those 16-bit graphics still looked epic. So when my cousin loaded up Goldeneye for the first time, that was the moment the magic started. My mind was completely blown. Free fucking D. Where did he get this magical piece of hardware? Was this even legal? I remember the first level of the game so vividly. The 3D models of the enemies, the bloodstains, the music and sound effects. This is what it should feel like playing a next generation console. I would have to wait a whole 12 months before my dad got me and my brother one for Christmas in 1998. Cue our own moment, which I'm sure was happening all across the country that morning, not quite realising what was in store for us over the next few years. The level of quality on the Nintendo 64 across completely different genres really is quite staggering when you think about it, especially considering that these games came out within just a couple years of each other. To name a few, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, my favourite game of all time, which I can prove with this Triforce tattoo I have, Goldeneye and its legendary multiplayer, Donkey Kong 64, Perfect Dark, Pokemon Stadium, which meant I could play the Game Boy game on my TV and not have to worry about batteries, 1080 snowboarding, and WWF No Mercy, the greatest wrestling game of all time in my opinion. There was something for absolutely everyone. Each game seemed crafted by passionate developers with no agendas other than wanting to make a good fucking game. My parents got divorced in the 90s, which from a purely selfish gaming perspective was a total result. It meant I had the best of both worlds. Weekends were for the Nintendo 64 at my dad's, and then during the week we were PlayStation kids. I was only a young kid when the PS1 came out, and before I had one, the only way I'd get to play games like Crash Bandicoot was at somewhere called the Jungle Bungle, a soft play area. There was always a big queue, but it wasn't for any of the slides. It was for the PS1 they had set up in a small dark room that probably smelled of sweat and sunny delight. Each kid would get 10 minutes to go. Me and my friends who didn't have a PlayStation 1 at the time would be so excited on the car journey there. To play a game for 10 minutes, it's so funny to think about it now. It's hard to describe that level of scarcity to someone today. Now, if you want to see how a game plays, or just need some help, you just open Twitch or YouTube and you're bombarded with gameplay clips, guides, reviews and essays. But in the 90s, if you didn't own it, your only window into that world was a 30-second TV advert or a blurry screenshot in a magazine. And if you were stuck and none of your friends owned the game guide, you had to use your good old-fashioned brain. And I won't lie, it was very frustrating at times. I'll never forget in the Ocarina of Time, I was stuck in the beginning of the game for a whole week because I couldn't figure out how to break through the spider web in the Deku Tree. You're literally just meant to fall into it, and it wasn't working. My Link would just roll as he landed instead of breaking through, so I started to suspect my game was broken. But no matter how much I blew my N64 cartridge, I just couldn't progress. Thankfully, my older sister's friend at school asked me how I was getting on, and he told me the secret. You have to jump from the very top rafters, but the trick is you have to let go of the controller before you hit the bottom. I raced home to try this groundbreaking technique, and it worked a charm. A small but memorable moment from my childhood that reminds me that the sense of community nowadays has largely disappeared. Eventually we got a PS1, and like with the Nintendo 64, there was something for everyone. Crash Bandicoot was PlayStation's unofficial mascot, an answer to Nintendo's Mario and Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog. They even made an advert where Crash straight up calls out Mario at Nintendo's headquarters.
Hey, plumber boy, mustache man, your worst nightmare has arrived. Pack up your stuff!
Lara Croft in Tomb Raider gave me my first gaming crush. Abe's Odyssey was a weird and wonderful experience that taught me about corporate greed, and that anyone could be a hero. FIFA 98 still goes down as probably my favourite football game of all time. It had an epic soundtrack, and the five-a-side mode was some of the best fun I had before I drank my first beer. My favourite PS1 game was Metal Gear Solid, which I found out about from my friend Alex. He called me up because he just got the new PlayStation magazine, which came with a demo of Metal Gear Solid. He said he just played this incredible game that was basically like a movie with unreal graphics, and he would bring it round that weekend for me and my brother to try. You see, the way we found out about games was usually through magazines, and sometimes on the front cover they'd have a CD with demos of upcoming games. You'd also pick them up in real life promotions too. For example, one time I was at the supermarket with my mum, and the Tekken team were there just giving out demos of Tekken 3. Another famous one is the Pizza Hut demo with Tony Hawk Pro Skater on it, introducing a whole new generation of kids to skateboarding, which was about to absolutely explode, especially with the TV show Jackass just around the corner. The pizza that night tasted extra good, knowing we had several new games to try over the weekend. If you speak to any 90s kids about these, I guarantee you they'll tell you that some of their favourite ever games turn out to be just demos of games they never actually owned. We probably played the demo disc as much as we played the actual full version games we had. It's really hard to put into words just how incredible the jump from my Sega to the N64 and PlayStation 1 felt at the time. Awesome games existed up until this point, of course, but not on this scale when it came to voice acting, physics, graphics, storytelling or world building. Solid Snake's pixelated face might as well have been Avatar level CGI for all I cared. The scale of the open world of Ocarina of Time felt endless, a world that would live on long after I'd completed it. It started to connect with other media too. Basically every big movie or TV show had its own video game. Some of them might have been a bit crappy, but as a kid I still loved them because it gave me a chance to live in and interact with the world I love so much on TV or at the movies. We spent hours playing the South Park game on Nintendo 64 and the Phantom Menace on the PS1. It was years later that I found out these games were panned critically. But I don't care. They gave me some of the best gaming days of my life playing as some of my all-time favourite characters of any TV show or movie. One of the main reasons the 90s was such an exciting time to grow up in was it seemed like every few months there was a big leap forward in technology. People were switching from those old VHS players to futuristic looking DVD players. Televisions were getting thinner as the picture got crisper.
Philips brings you the flat TV.
Walkmans were being replaced by MP3 players, and the internet was slowly evolving from an ugly but fun soup of articles, crappy looking websites and chat rooms, to the oracle of knowledge we have today. A great example of how technology was changing in games is that until 1997, PlayStation 1 controllers didn't have analog sticks, but most kids didn't actually have them until 1999. I personally found out about the new controllers with analog sticks because I rented a game from Blockbuster called Ape Escape, and because it was the first PS1 game that absolutely required you to have an analog stick controller, we managed to convince my mum to go out and buy us a DualShock controller because we told her otherwise we wouldn't be able to play Ape Escape or other games moving forward. Not only was it awesome having a brand new experience with the analog sticks, but the controller vibrated in your hands too, giving you the feeling you were the one clashing the sword onto a shield, or crashing the car into a barrier at 100 miles an hour. I'm sure I'm not alone with this, but I'll never forget the confusion when the game told us to use L3 and R3 for the first time ever. Most kids back then didn't even know L3 and R3 existed. We didn't know the sticks could be clicked in, and if you did it by accident, you probably thought you almost broke your controller. The 90s didn't have 4K resolution, online matchmaking, and certainly didn't have everything on demand. But what it did have was heart, wonder, and something that's really hard to find these days. The magic of not quite knowing what was around the corner. And for that, I'm incredibly grateful to have grown up in the 90s. It was a hell of a time to be a kid, and a hell of a time to be a gamer. But what about you? What was your favourite gaming moment from the 90s? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.